welcome to the Chambal Fertilizers and Chemicals Q4 and FY23 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touch-tone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Rishabh Barar from CDR India. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Chambal Fertilizers and Chemicals Q4 and FY23 earnings call. We have with us today Mr. Gaurav Mathur, Managing Director, Mr. Anand Agarwal, CFO, Mr. Anuj Jain, Assistant Vice President, Finance and Company Secretary, and Mr. Ashish Srivastava, Vice President, Sales and Marketing. Before we get started, I would like to point out that some statements made or discussed in the conference call today may be forward-looking in nature and must be viewed in conjunction with the risks the company faces. Chambal Fertilizers and Chemicals does not undertake to update them. The statement in this regard is available for reference in the presentation. We will begin this call with opening remarks from Mr. Mathur. I would now like to invite Mr. Mathur to share his views. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rishabh. Good day, everybody, and a warm welcome to all of you participating in this call. We will share our performance over the just concluded quarter and financial year 2023. Since we have already shared the presentation and financial performance with you, I will not restate the numbers in my opening remarks. While operating performance in Q4 was in line with earlier years, there was an impact of approximately 197 crores at EBT level on account of subsidy reduction in P&K fertilizers. This was for the period first from Jan to March 23, as well as the further reduction from 1st of April 23. These reductions impact both the company as well as the channel stock. Our urea business continues to do well. We achieved highest ever production of urea at almost 33.5 lakh metric tons. This was at the best energy per ton of urea, leading to good gains on energy efficiency for the year. We continue to evaluate and implement further energy efficiency projects. We undertook the biannual shutdown for Gadepan 3 as per plan in March, which resulted in further improvement of its performance for the future. We sustained our share in phosphatic fertilizers aligned with the need to meet farmer requirements in a very challenging year. In the new geographies, in spite of the overall challenging situation, we continue to make inroads to both expand our network as well as increase our sales. We continued our thrust on expanding the crop protection and specialty nutrient business where we see significant potential. This segment has grown over 50% year-on-year, albeit on a relatively low base, and we have more than doubled both our top line and margin in the last 2 years. During the year, we launched 10 new products, majorly for wheat, paddy, maize, soybean, sugarcane, and mustard crops. Our seed to harvest program for the farmers is focused on this business and continues to progress very well. To give you some numbers in FY23, through this, Chambal undertook programs across approximately 1,163 villages, reaching out to close to 1 lakh farmers, did about 2,800 farmer training programs, and over 30,000 soil samples. This has had very significant traction with the farmers, and we look to significantly scale this up in the coming years. Subsidy payments have also been timely since November 22 onwards. The budgetary allocation for the current fiscal year, i.e. FY23-24, offers comfort that this should continue and that there is adequate subsidy coverage. Additionally, the fall in gas as well as P&K fertilizer prices should also help impact subsidies positively. Our technical ammonium nitrate project is on track. The project has been awarded to Larsen & Toubro on a lump sum turnkey basis, and the technology licensor is Casale, which has many decades of experience in the weak nitric acid and ammonium nitrate plants. The project is slated to be complete by Q3 of FY25-26. With that, we will now take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Ladies and gentlemen, a reminder, if you wish to ask a question, please press star, then 1. Our first question comes from Falguni Datta with Jet Age Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, just one question from my side. What was the impact of this reduction in subsidy? I missed in case you had mentioned in your opening remarks.
That is 197 crores, Falguni.
And where has it got reflected? Under which head, I mean?
It has been taken into the Q4 financials and the full year financials.
This is reflecting of margin like such.
This is a part of raw materials, or I mean, where is this impact? Okay.
Yeah, it's a part of
Raw material.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's all from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a question, please press star and 1. Our next question comes from Vidit with IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Just to take the previous question forward, this 197 crores, what would be the impact on, the inventory loss because of the subsidy write down from 1st April onwards? And what would be the split between Jan to March? Would that be possible to provide?
So Jan to March will be 30 crore, and the balance is for the quarter end, for the next semi-annual, from April to September.
Okay, understood. And you spoke about, energy efficiency improvements that have been happening at Chambal and the projects that you've undertaken. So if you could shed some light on, how much we've improved, versus 2 years back or 3 years back, and what metric are we currently operating at, and what's the target that the company has to go going forward?
Yeah. So, Vidit, we have achieved this year approximately 5.15 Gcal per metric ton of urea, right? And last year, I think we were at 5.23. So over the last 4-5 years, if I go back, we were more around the 5.3 mark, and now we've come down to 5.15. We have further projects which we will implement in Gadepan 1 and Gadepan 2, which should help to bring this down further.
Okay. Understood. So maybe like 5 would be an appropriate target, or could this go even lower than that?
No, to be realistic, 5 at this point of time, we don't see that, because we also need to take into account the appropriate payback on the project that we implement. So we would expect that we might be able to get to 5.1 in the next few years.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that. Just one last question on...
The industry average is around 5.8. Overall industry average is around 5.8. So we are, as of now, significantly better than the industry.
Understood. Just one question on this, on the increase in investments that we've seen in short-term investments. I think we've seen them increase by about 1,800 odd crores. What are these investments being parked in currently?
These are majorly the mutual funds.
Okay. Equity or debt or both?
No. These are very, very short-term. These are liquid funds and overnight funds.
Okay, fine.
These are short-term surpluses, and therefore it can only be debt security.
Got it. Okay, cool. I'll come back in queue for more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Tarang with Old Bridge. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for your time. Congratulations for strong cash flows. I believe the business is net cash ex subsidy now, so that's good to see. Just a couple of things. One, if you could give us what the power and fuel expenses were for Q4 FY23.
Anuj, can you please provide the power and fuel expenses? While we take that out, what's your other question?
For the quarter is 968 crores, and for the year is 4,838 crores.
Okay. Second, on the 197 odd crore inventory loss that you've recorded in Q4, how much of it is relating to the nitrogen business and how much of it is to the trading business?
So this is nothing to do with the nitrogen business, because the nitrogen business, the gas cost, there are two parts of the subsidy. One is the gas cost, which is essentially a pass-through, but there is escalation in it, which the government takes care from time to time. And the second part is the fixed component of the nitrogen business, which is a fixed number. It doesn't really change with anything. So in substance, there is nothing to do with the nitrogen business. It is primarily to do with the P&K business, and within that, DAP.
I would reckon, your allocation is about 3 million tons, right? So any incremental fertilizer that you're selling over and above the reassessed capacity is on the basis of import parity prices, and the fact that import parity prices have crashed significantly, especially in Q4, that would have had some impact. Did it?
Not really. You see, what happened is that we did our full production, and there was no impact on production beyond reassessed capacity. As regards to import price parity, that is calculated on an annualized basis. So it is not a monthly or a quarterly number. It is actually calculated on an annualized basis, and the annual price of imported urea was significantly higher than the cost of indigenous production. So there was no impact on reassessed capacity production at all.
Okay. Just the final one on the phosphatics. Sorry for hopping on this, but effectively, how are you seeing this going forward in FY24 in terms of some checks and balances that you might have perhaps incorporated in the overall system? Because FY23 particularly has been a difficult year insofar as the trading business is concerned, right from what we saw in September and now what we're seeing in Q4.
Yeah, FY23 was a very, very unique year, which my colleagues in the industry say has never been seen in the history of the industry. So what we are obviously looking at going forward is to make sure that most of our stock is placed in the market as early as possible and moves out through the point of sales. I would also just like to add that while we have had this impact in Q4, but our stock as a percentage of the industry was far lower than our market share. So as a company, we were quite focused on it, and we were able to keep our stocks at quite a low level compared to the industry overall.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Harmish Desai with Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, and thanks for taking my question. Sir, my first question is on the crop protection segment. So can you tell me what kind of margins have we made in this segment in FY23, and what are we targeting? What kind of margins are we targeting in the year FY24?
Good afternoon, Harmish. Thank you for your question. We don't share our margin percentages as such. What I can say to you is that our margins overall are well comparable or better than the industry average. Okay. So even with we have a unique business model, and with that unique business model, we are very happy that we are able to have a very high growth number. So we have, more than doubled our top line over the last 2 years. We started from a low base, but yes, we have more than doubled our top line, and our margins have also moved along consistently. We are very keen and particular that we don't compromise on our percentage margins as we continue to grow strongly.
Okay, that is helpful. And sir, what kind of capex are we targeting in this segment in FY24?
I'll ask Ashish, our head of sales and marketing, to respond to that on the segments that we are targeting in FY24. The product portfolio caters to the entire crop range and the entire insecticide, weedicide, and the fungicide segment. So the entire crop in the territory is covered. So the product portfolio is complete in all respects.
Okay. And sir, I don't know if I missed it. Can you share the urea production breakup between G1, G2, and G3?
Anuj, can you please provide that? It's there in the investor presentation. So,
no, it's not there,
please. Just 1 second.
Yeah. So we have Gadepan 1 and Gadepan 2, 20.61 lakh for the year 23. And for Gadepan 3, we have 12.86, so total to 33.47 lakh.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, sir. And sir, my last question is on imacid. So as you said rightly that this entire year has been some kind of an anomaly for imacid as well as for all other segments. So what is your expectation from imacid in FY24?
So we expect that imacid should continue to perform as per its standard past year performance in FY24. In FY21-22, there was a huge upsurge because of the overall international situation, and that got largely normalized in FY22-23. In fact, it went down a little bit. Now we expect that in the current financial year, it should come back to its standard sort of performance which it used to have in the past years.
Okay, yeah, that is helpful, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Prashant Biyani with Elara Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Sir, how do you see the trading volume trajectory for H1, and how much of the targeted H1 sales materials have we already bought?
So we have all been set certain targets by the Department of Fertilizers, both the traders as well as the manufacturers. Based on that, we have procured our material. Now, we are also conscious of the stocks that the country carried as opening stocks. There were reasonably substantial opening stocks that the country had as a whole, though we managed to keep our stocks relatively low as of 1st of April. So we would say that we would look at at best similar volumes, but the more important thing would be that we would try to make sure that we do the volumes which are appropriate with the sort of on the margin side, because the uncertainty on the subsidy in the future from 1st October will also remain. So we are mindful of that and planning our volumes accordingly.
And sir, whatever we are targeting to sell, have we bought all those materials, or for some we are yet to purchase?
No, it is, we haven't. We bought about 50 to 60%, and for Q1 we are covered, but for beyond that we are being very watchful because there is a downward price trend. So we also want to be careful of when we buy.
Right. And sir, can't we as an industry give representation to the government to restore annual revision of subsidy as was the case earlier, because the uncertainty on the availability globally has also ebbed now? So what would be the industry or your view, or have we thought on these lines?
That's a very good point, Prashant, and we continue to work through the Fertilizer Association of India with the department and the government, and it has been our representation through FAI that the subsidy should now be declared for the full year. However, as we know, the government has again declared it for a 6-month period from 1st April to 30th September.
Yeah, but I mean, sir, just extending this point, nothing seems to work with the government, especially the Department of Fertilizer arm, whereas for other ministries, we are seeing that they are at least cognizant of industry concerns, whereas here we are seeing retrospective revisions. So, I mean, is it that they are just on their own, and the representation from this industry is just only being heard, or they are actually considerate to it?
Well, I can't answer on behalf of the government or the department, and I guess the Fertilizer Association would be best placed to answer this question. But what I can assure you is that we, as well as the FAI, keep apprising the government quite regularly on the challenges and seeking a positive intervention.
A few data-related questions. What would be the ammonia production and sales volume for the year?
So the total ammonia that we sold in last year was of the order of 90,000 tons. May not be precisely 90,000, give or take a few thousand tons here or there. And the total production of ammonia would be close to 1.9 million tons or thereabouts, right?
Okay. And sir, just this breakup of freight and packing expenses also, like we used to share till last quarter.
Freight and packing expenses. Yeah, I think Anuj can give them to you.
Freight and forwarding charges for the quarter is 135 crore, and for the year it is 778 crore.
And packing?
Packing is 30,000 for the quarter, and for the year it is 135 crores.
30 for the quarter?
Yes. 30.
Yeah. And sir, is it possible to give G3 energy consumption level separately?
Yeah, in G3 our energy for the year was, because we took a shutdown in March, so that actually adds a certain shutdown and startup energy. So including that, it was about 4.88 Gcal per metric ton roughly.
Okay, and if we exclude the maintenance shutdown part, then
it should have been more around 4.7, around 4.7.
Okay. And
yeah, around 4.75. Yeah. So we are very happy that Gadepan 3 energy probably continues to be the best in the world.
Right. And lastly, sir, because we had taken maintenance shutdown for G3 in March, do you expect the urea sales mix for Q1, the contribution from G3 to reduce?
Not really. I mean, G3 came back in production, so we do not expect G3 production volume for quarter one will be as per plan.
And so for Q4, was there a lower contribution of G3 sales in total urea?
See, what happens, Prashant, is that the total volume for G3 is 12.7 lakh metric tons, which is applicable as per the NIP 12 rates. Beyond that, if you see, we have produced beyond that. Beyond that, the remuneration given is as per the same formula as G1 and G2. So we covered the entire production of G3 up to the NIP 12 policy of 12.7 lakh tons and produced even a little bit more beyond that in spite of the shutdown.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Vivek Ramakrishnan with DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Sir, good afternoon. My first question is simple, just in terms of what is the capex for the current year that you plan for the company as a whole. I'll also ask the second question. You seem to have a bit of a Hobson's choice in terms of imports and subsidies all moving at different lags. Is the supply chain now in a position where you can fine-tune the purchases so that you can meet your market demand as well as keep your inventories without that much of a subsidy risk? Those are my two questions, sir. Thank you.
So our capex this time for this financial year will be in the range of 300 to 400 crores. And within that are a few good energy efficiency projects. Our routine capex, if I take out energy efficiency projects, would be more in the 150 to 200 crore ballpark, right? And then depending on the good energy saving projects, we add on top of that. As regards your second question, could you please repeat that?
So, sir, in terms of have the supply chains, last year you had to import a lot because of the supply chain issues and so on. Have the supply chains in your phosphatic and other fertilizers improved so that you can fine tune your purchases and keep your inventory low and avoid the subsidy risk that you saw in FY23?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the exact idea, intention. And our plan is to import and sell material in a manner where we minimize our stocks at the end of September and minimize, therefore, any impact of subsidy revisions.
Thank you very much, sir, and wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Falguni Datta with Jet Age Securities. Please go ahead.
So one more clarification on the 197 crore number. Does it include the subsidy cut from April onwards also?
Yes, it does.
And the stock that we have with the in the channels, our stock in the channel, it includes a reduction on that as well?
So what happens is, just to be very clear, when there is a subsidy change as of, let's say, 1st of April, there is stock that we are carrying in our warehouses as well as stock in the channel. The subsidy change impact is addressed for both of them.
Okay, so this 197 crore is takes into account the inventory with the channel also?
Absolutely.
Fine, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
When the sales happens to the farmer.
Yeah, so you will have to account for that as well. That's what you meant.
Yeah.
So, sir, so now we don't have any impact to come in on that account, at least.
That's right.
And sir, one more clarification. So on your trading volumes, did you say that they would be mostly flattish YOY? I mean, did I hear correctly?
Look, the trading volume is a function of a few things. It's a function of the targets that the government sets, the consumption pattern of the farmers and in the country, as well as the financial situation in terms of the margin, the subsidy, the MRP, etc. So based on that, we would look to regulate our volumes in a manner that we get the best benefit for the company, which is why we are not really stuck on a volume number per se for the year.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Makes it clear. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a question, please press star, then 1. Our next question comes from Tarang with Old Bridge. Please go ahead.
Hi, just a follow-up second. On your trading business, what's your inventory value as on 31st March and how many metric tons of inventory?
So in terms of metric tons, we had roughly, if I remember, about 1.8, 1.9 lakh metric tons, Anuj?
Yeah.
So all inclusive would be about 1.8, 1.9 lakh metric tons, DAP, NPK and MOP all put together. And value, Anuj, you can mention. While Anuj is taking out the value, what I would say is that our inventory was about only 5% of the industry, while our market share is about 10%. So we did manage to keep our inventory quite low.
We have total inventory of about 1,300 crores, including urea.
Yeah.
I know that I can see. I was looking at the trading business.
Trading business. So urea we didn't have much inventory, so it's mainly trading, but definitely we can give that number.
Okay. We'll share that number to everybody.
Sure. The second, so the next question is on the energy consumption for the business. The 5.15 figure is consolidated for the 3 plants, right? 1, 2, and 3?
Yes.
Okay. And what would be the, while the industry average is 5.8, what would be, in your opinion, the consumption of your closest peer or the second most efficient player in the country right now?
So currently, I think the most efficient single plant of older vintage, so I don't want to bring Gadepan 3 because that's a new plant, but the most efficient plant of an older vintage would be just over 5.
Okay, got it. That's helpful.
So 5.0 something as opposed to ours. Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a question, please press star, then 1. Our next question comes from Marcel, an investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is that for this this project, what is our total capex, and how are we going to fund it from internal accruals and from the debts?
Plant 40. So the capacity of the ammonium nitrate plant is 240,000 tons per annum. And the weak nitric acid plant, the nameplate capacity is 600,000 tons per annum. What was the second part of your question?
No, my question was that what is the what is the total cost of the technical ammonium nitrate project which we are coming? And then how are we going to fund it? How much amount we are spending from the internal accruals and how much will be debt?
Sure. Anand, you can answer that.
Overall cost of the project is 1,645 crores, and we are planning to fund it by way of 50-50 between debt and equity. As of now, that is what we have planned.
And how is going to be yeah, and how it's going to compete? I think the Deepak Fertilisers is also coming with a similar project, and I think they will be coming before you. So what will be the demand scenario how much capacity are you projecting for this one?
So, first of all, well, we don't know whether Deepak Fertilisers will come before us or we will come before them. Let us see how that goes. That's one. What I would say to you is that our cost of manufacture and cost of sale to the target markets that we have identified is going to be perhaps the lowest in the country. That's one. Second is that with the growth of overall economy that we see, the overall growth in energy that we see, as well as infrastructure, all of which leads to requirement for, let's say, more cement, more coal, more filling material for roads, etc. We obviously believe that there is a strong case for the project, which is why we are putting it up.
And sir, where is the location? Where is the location of the project?
That's at our existing site at Gadepan, because we are going to utilize the excess technical ammonia that we are currently selling to make ammonium nitrate, and thereby do value addition and earn higher margins.
It is sort of integration. Yeah. But sir, like I think the main market for this will be this mining sector. Main like the target customer will be mining sector. So I think Deepak is setting up a plant in Odisha, which has a lot of mines of iron ore and the coal mine and so on. So what about your this logistic? Like if you are setting up in Rajasthan, where there are not many mines. So will it not be this? Our cost of supply will be higher.
Michael, Odisha, etc. is yes, there is a lot of coal mining, but that's not the only place where mining happens. You know, there is a very significant mining chunk in around central India, in the area of Singrauli, etc., where we have a cost to serve advantage compared to most other locations.
Very good. Just like this, the other question is very important. Means since the last quarter we have been somehow like almost our PBT is hardly 10 crore. So now is it not the good time to look at our cost? Because if I see the other expenses, they are almost stagnant at 1200 crore plus. So is the company taking some steps into restructuring or no increment or just like cutting down salary or the other expenses? Because I think this is the right time now that we should look at this part, because this is a huge component we are carrying. And rather it's increasing. Like the last year it was only 4,000 crore and this year it is 6,000 crore.
Yeah, so see, please note that these costs increase in expenses is not an admin cost and other costs. This is more due to power and fuel. This is more due to freight and forwarding expenses and all. This is not due to your fixed costs and all. If your business increases, definitely you have to pay more. And these are reimbursable costs. Really.
No, but like just to give sort of little bit this interaction here. For example, since we are spending a sizable amount, I do not know how much we are spending on this freight forwarding, for example. So is the company planning to do some sort of backward integration, having its own fleet and so on? Because like whatever money we are spending on the freight, it's like it's going in the drain. We are not getting any asset for us. So maybe 50% of the freight forwarding we can do from our own fleet. Remaining we can just like, for example, hire from the market and so on. Something for example, this value addition or something optimization should be done here.
So Michael, please understand that the freight in the fertilizer business consists of two parts. One is the bulk movement from either the factory or the port to the various districts, which happens by rake. That is fully reimbursed 100% by the government as part of the freight policy on this. The second part is the movement from the rake point to the dealer's location by truck, which is also reimbursed by the government. Right? So the freight, etc., that you see over here as separate line items, they are largely reimbursed by the government as part of the freight policy of delivering bulk fertilizers.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Vidit with IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the follow-up. Just a couple of questions from me. The first one was on the capex of the TAN project. So you mentioned that FY24 budget capex budget is roughly 300-400 crores, of which I think half of it is on energy efficiency projects. So is it fair to assume that the TAN project capex is largely going to happen in FY25? And if so, then why are we not bringing this forward to FY24?
So a small correction actually, when I mentioned 300 to 400 crores on capex, that excludes the TAN project, right? On the TAN project, we would expect that in this year we would have somewhere of the order of 500 crores of cash flow on the TAN project specifically.
Okay.
So it's 300 to 400 crores as part of our normal capex, which includes the energy efficiency project, plus of the order of 500 crores for ammonium nitrate separately.
Got it. And how much has already been spent on the ammonium nitrate plant?
Currently, we spend of the order of 100 crores.
Okay, understood. And just one last data point in terms of the pooled natural gas cost for 4Q and what it is currently.
The current natural gas is of the order of $17.6, $17.7 per MMBTU delivered basis, NCV basis. We expect that it might remain around this number going forward because the bulk of the gas price is linked to the Brent crude for the industry. So for quarter one, it's expected to remain here, maybe a similar number for quarter two also.
Got it. And what was it in quarter four, FY23?
Quarter four, it was 17.4.
Okay, understood. All right. Thanks for these answers. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Prashant Biyani with Elara Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just one question. Sir, how, in the light of falling ammonia prices, how do you wish to defend the urea ammonia profitability for this year?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So we will definitely see a reduction in profitability on the ammonia part, which again was a bit of an anomaly last year. Now let us see how it goes because these things can be transitory also. Today we see a downward projection, and our expectation is that now the price has stabilized and should not go down further. And yes, it will place some challenges on ammonia margins going forward. Yeah. At the same time, we also have to look at that, when we sell ammonia, we get better efficiency in the plants. So overall, it's not just a simple equation of the direct margin that one makes on ammonia, but a combination of the direct margin plus the energy efficiency that we get by operating our plants at a high rate.
Right. Is it possible to share the ammonia contribution to EBITDA for last year?
I think that is something which we usually don't want to share, Prashant.
Okay, sir. That's it from my side. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a reminder, if you wish to ask a question, please press star, then 1. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you very much, Rishabh. Thank you, everyone, for joining the conference and for your insightful questions. We wish you a very nice day going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On behalf of Chambal Fertilisers and Chemicals, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect your lines.